The identity of ancient Egypt is one of history's most persistent flashpoints. Who built the pyramids? Where did the culture originate? For centuries, Egypt has been claimed and counterclaimed, forced into modern racial categories that did not exist in the ancient world. The debate over whether ancient Egypt was fundamentally African or Near Eastern oversimplifies a complex, diverse civilization. Scholars today agree that ancient Egyptians were always ethnically diverse, with skin tones varying along a continuum from the delta to the Nile's source. But to truly understand the African foundation of Egypt, you must travel south, past the First Cataract, into the kingdom of Kush. This was Nubia, the powerful civilization that adopted, preserved, and eventually conquered Egypt, forging one of history's most fascinating dynasties. They were the Forgotten Pharaohs of the 25th Dynasty, the Black Pharaohs, who rescued Egyptian culture at its lowest point. The Kushite conquest was not an invasion of barbarians, it was a religious and cultural reunification led by the Pharaoh Piye. Piye claimed to be the rightful heir to Egypt, modeling himself after the great pharaohs of the New Kingdom, such as Ramses II. He ordered his soldiers to purify themselves by bathing in the Nile before battle, an act of religious piety that mirrored the oldest Egyptian traditions. The 25th Dynasty revived the single greatest architectural feature of the Old and Middle Kingdoms that had long been abandoned: pyramid building. The Kushite capital, Napata, and later Meroe, became the site of the greatest concentration of pyramids in the world. This is the anomaly. The world's largest pyramid site is not in Egypt, but in Sudan.
Kushite pyramids were not colossal like Giza. They were much smaller, ranging from 6 to 30 meters tall. Crucially, their shape was distinct. While Egyptian pyramids have broad bases and gradual angles 40 to 50 degrees, Kushite pyramids were steep, sharp, and inclined at much more severe angles, often between 60 to 70 degrees. The methodology of construction was also unique. Egyptian pyramids housed the tombs within the structure. Kushite pyramids, however, were built on top of the burial chambers, serving as elaborate tombstones. This specific difference allowed the Kushites to blend Egyptian tradition with their own Nubian identity, creating something both familiar and distinctly African. Kushite pharaohs like Shabaka and Taharka actively repaired and restored decaying Egyptian temples and monuments. They ensured the ancient Egyptian religious methodology, the worship of Amun, was rigorously observed and revived. Taharka, one of the most powerful 25th Dynasty pharaohs, expanded the Temple of Amun at Jebel Barkal with an immense colonnaded forecourt. The rule of the 25th Dynasty lasted for nearly a century, but their legacy was fiercely contested and ultimately erased by later Egyptian and foreign rulers. When the Kushites retreated south after conflicts with the Assyrians, the subsequent Egyptian rulers sought to deny their historical legitimacy. They destroyed their statues and stelae, actively attempting to remove the names of the Kushite pharaohs from the official monuments of Egypt. This cultural warfare fueled the modern controversy, making it difficult to trace the profound African influence on Egyptian identity. Modern DNA analyses of mummies suggests that ancient Egyptians were genetically closer to the Near East. However, modern Egyptians possess more sub-Saharan African ancestry due to centuries of later migration and exchange. This reinforces the transformation. Egypt was always a genetic and cultural crossroads, uniquely tied to both its northern and southern neighbors.
Even after losing control of Egypt, the Kushite civilization flourished for another 1,000 years, centered at their new capital, Meroe. Meroe became a major center for iron production, utilizing a methodology independent of Egyptian practices. This iron industry, combined with their control of the crucial Red Sea trade routes, ensured Meroe's continued wealth and power. They developed their own written language, Meroitic, which branched away from Egyptian hieroglyphs, creating a truly unique cultural identity. It was here, in the heart of Meroe, that the Kushites built the greatest concentration of their steep, African-styled pyramids. Their methodology preserved the reverence for the pyramid form, but adapted it to their culture, emphasizing the tribute over the internal tomb. Kushite history is also notable for the power of the Kandakis, their ruling queens, who often led armies into battle. These warrior queens demonstrated a different methodology of power, contrasting with the often more ceremonial role of later Egyptian queens. The answer to how African was ancient Egypt is found in the south. The Kushite 25th dynasty preserved Egypt's core identity, not by conquering it, but by restoring its original religious and architectural methodologies when the Egyptians themselves had abandoned them. Their legacy proves that the Nile Valley was a continuous, unified cultural landscape, where the south often dictated the survival of the north. The destruction of their monuments was a desperate attempt to erase this truth, but the pyramids of Meroe still stand as undeniable proof. The Kushite contribution ensures that any discussion of Egyptian history must start with the fact of African continuity. This is the Anomaly TV. If you want to dive deeper into the hidden histories and methodologies that define our world, please subscribe now. Next week, we investigate tricksters and the dying god and the hidden psychological patterns in global mythology. Click the thumbnail to watch it now.